There are many videos of professional comedians on the internet, filmed while performing their act. Some of these comedians are famous and deceased. Some are still living, but they don't perform anymore. Others are more recent and yet deceased, and for some reason I had never heard of them until I saw their clip on the internet. According to the number of hits and the comments on the site, they have a huge dedicated following. And there are lots of videos featuring current comedians, and I've never heard of them either, which is not surprising because the closer you approach to the present day, the further out of the loop I am. So if we're talking about comedians who are especially hot right now, it's no wonder I haven't heard of them. When it comes to present time, you can pick any loop you want: comedians, politics, sports, medicine, technology, architecture, and I am out of that loop. I'm loopless. As for the large number of performing comedians, that comes as no surprise. Just examine this country, the United States of America. It's a veritable petri dish for humor. Nearly everything that is happening here right now is laughable. It's a great time to be a comic in America. Look around. You cannot run short of A-grade material. So I watch a lot of videos of comics I don't know, and they're always playing to packed houses of people who greet them with applause that is almost, in a way, insane in its intensity. They dearly love this person I've never heard of. And the comic proceeds to tear his audience up. 5 minutes into the act, they are laughing so hard that audience reaction shots show them wiping up tears and snot with tissues, and it's clear that they're going to run out of fluids before the comedian runs out of jokes. Typically, because he or she is edgy, the comedian will say the most horrible things, and the audience will love them for it, urging them on with the slice and dice. They talk about terminal cancer, incest, suicide bombers, anal sex, and serial murderers, and the audience will roar with laughter. There's a British comic who specializes in calling everyone a cunt. That's his edge. He could be talking about a famous soccer star or the Prime Minister, and he'll say the man's a stupid cunt. He calls his audience a bunch of filthy cunts, and they cheer him on. It's like watching blood spray in a horror movie. It's shocking, but you know it isn't real, so you can indulge. You can watch it and allow yourself to be thrilled. One thing all of these shows has in common is that before the comedian comes out to begin their show, there's only one thing on the stage: a high stool and a bottle of water. When this started and who started it, I don't know, but it is mandatory. I'm a professional comedian, damn it, and I want my stool and bottle of water. Some comedians will sip the water, many ignore it. It is the audience losing fluids that could use the water. It may be up there to tease them, tantalize them, keep them on edge. Thirsty? Too bad. And why the water is always on a high stool, like a bar stool, I don't know. It could be on a little table, but it never is. It's always on a high stool, which is odd because none of the comedians ever sits down. They don't do it. Of course they don't do it. They're stand-up comedians. They're doing stand-up. The last thing on earth that they want is a chair. Imagine if it got out that a stand-up comedian was sitting down during his act. I'm not shitting you, Eddie. The guy sat down. It's important, vital, that the stand-up comedian is standing. They keep moving around, pacing, prowling. If they sat, they'd be dead. They've got to keep moving like the shark. Sometimes they'll pause to make a point, a dramatic pause, but they'll never sit down. Franklin Roosevelt had polio, and he rigged it so he could stand while making speeches because he knew, instinctively, that if he made a speech from a chair, no one would take him seriously. Jimmy Carter thought he could address people while sitting by a fire wearing a sweater. He thought he could pull that off, that people would think he was calm and reasonable. He was wrong. People thought he was a dunderhead. Comedians are also on the move because they've got to sell their jokes, their humor. These people are all gifted extemporaneous speakers, and most, but not all, are extroverts. Standing up to speak in front of a crowd does not scare them. It fills them with joy. As for style, there are bright, zany, manic comics and the dark, hooded, depressive comics. Some combine the two. You're bipolar comics. You never know what to expect from that guy. Moving around to sell a joke is called delivery, and much of the humor in a joke depends on the delivery. There's a precise choreography involved. So these people are a combination salesman, ballet dancer, mental patient, and FedEx truck driver. I myself am a sit-down comic. You can feel the lack of energy here. There is no insistence, no drive, no attack mode. The excitement level here is comparable to what you'd find in a dentist's waiting room. I could try to change. I've got a high stool out in the garage at a workbench, and I could get a bottle of water and try doing this while standing up, but I don't want to. I'd get tired standing all the time, walking around, running, skipping, jumping around like I'm Mick Jagger, like my medicine just wore off. People respond to that, though. They like to see it. The stand-up comic is alive, wired, and stimulating, unpredictable. Nobody wants to see or hear somebody talking, sitting in a chair. God help us. That could be your grandfather, who lost his mind at least 10 years ago, but he keeps on talking, on the off chance that it might come back.